All right. Anita is saying hello. Please give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Am I audible? Sunita Surampalli saying hi. Namaste. All right. Thumbs up. Thank you very much. All right. Shabri Prasad is saying hi. Hello. Live Astro is saying good morning, sir. Pi is saying thumbs up. Thank you, Pi. Seashells. Okay. Hello. Mr. Parth 1412. Interesting name. Yeah. Rajiv Prasad is saying thumbs up. All right. Thank you. VC is here. Kalpesh Jain. Pranam. Pranam Kalpesh ji. Rax Loy is saying thumbs up. Thank you. All right. Live Astro. Yes, sir. You are audible. Thank you. Sirshin Mudaliar is saying, can hear loud and clear in South Africa. Wow, great. Thank you for joining all the way from South Africa. Vandita Mishra is saying, all right. Okay, so quite some people here, 50 people. It's mid of the day, I guess. And finally, we are live after so long. So many people have joined. Thank you very much for joining. So today, as you know, Saturn is retrograde now, and somebody is saying loud and clear from Australia. Great. I hope it's loud and clear in every part of the universe. All right. So Saturn is actually now retrograde, but he is yet to go to Capricorn. He's still in the sign of Aquarius. He is moving retrograde, and he will enter the sign of Capricorn again and stay somewhere in July, and then till January or February next year. I'm not exactly sure of the dates. I've mentioned it in my Saturn retrograde video. So please write it down in the comments if you have seen that video and if you remember, I guess. But I remember it's from July to January next year. Okay, July this year, of course. So it's a very interesting transit because similar transit happened 2017. It happened again because around July, August, June, July, August, around that time, Saturn had entered Sagittarius in January 2017. It was on the Indian Republic Day, I guess, 26th January, if I remember, around that time. And somewhere June, July, August, it again went back to Scorpio. It was a very treacherous time. So many people told me, wow, it was like a classic time, Saturn moving to and fro in the Gandanta zone. It's like the last degree of Scorpio and the first degree of Sagittarius. It's a very treacherous zone. Okay. So something similar is happening now. Of course, this is not a Gandanta zone, so it doesn't mean that it will also be treacherous. But yeah, the energies are a bit similar, right? So it's like saying a planet is going back to the earlier sign. So it shows there's a lot of homework which we have to do actually. Okay, so Ashish Khandelwal is saying, I have Moon Rahu in Kutika Nakshatra in the sixth house. Okay. So what do I make out of it? Anything can happen. Moon Rahu in the sixth. You could get hallucinations, you could get delusions, you could get progress in your career, you could have stress in your marriage. There are a thousand things that can happen with Moon Rahu in any nakshatra in the sixth house, right? Okay. Seema Karya is saying thumbs up. All right. Thank you. Anuradha is saying namaste. Namaste, Anuradha ji. Saurabh Bharat Thorat is saying, seeing you after a long time. Thank you, sir. Vandita Mishra is saying, hi, sir. Please explain when Saturn returns to its previous house, what it means. Saturn returns to its. Oh, I hope you are speaking of the transit. So that's what we are going to discuss now. Astrophilia is saying hi. Sumedha Tiwari is saying hello. All right. Partha is saying, what pending karma does combust planets have? Interesting question. So most of the times you will see either Mercury or Venus can be conjunct. I mean, combust most of the times. So combust planets are very interesting. Combustion shows sacrifice. All right. So something related to that planet you have to sacrifice for long-term gains. Okay. So if you see combustion in a negative spirit, you will always be miserable. Okay. So Lord Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that pleasures that have that are like nectar in the beginning are like poison in the end, right? And pleasures which are like poison in the beginning are like nectar in the end. Okay. So that shloka exemplifies the concept of combustion. So whenever in planet is combust, you have to understand that you have to sacrifice short-term pleasures for long-term gains. Okay. Now, what that is, how will it happen, and when it will happen, that will depend on the horoscope. That will depend on your dashas, of course. Right. Pallavi ji is saying, Hare Krishna, happy weekend. Thank you, madam. Nice to have you. Partha. Okay, I've answered Partha ji's question, hopefully. Astrophila is saying, what does retrograde planets cause? Please, I'm new to astrology. So, retrograde planets have some unfinished business. Okay, and there's a very strong, deep, intense desire, right? So, now retrograde planets can sometimes behave way more aggressively, or it can behave passively also, right? So it depends on your horoscope. Either will it behave aggressively or it will behave passively. Because if you see the literature related to retrograde planets, the Rishi Munis say that retrograde planet is a very powerful planet. It's a very prominent planet, right? But powerful in which direction, right? Sometimes being aggressive can be very powerful. Sometimes being passive can also be very powerful, right? So many times people are confused. Oh, my Venus is retrograde. So will I get married? Will I marry three times or will I never marry in life? Right. Well, that depends on the horoscope, but it shows trying to oscillate in two ends. One end is like you are hyperactive all the time, or the other end is you are very passive. You are least interested to take any action. So depending on the horoscope, the energy of the retrograde planet will actually come into place, right? Today I am a bit in the mood of answering questions, so let's answer a few questions. All right. Oh my God, so many questions. Okay, Rakesh Sharma is saying 17th Jan 2022. Okay, I don't know what that is. Oh, maybe 2023, maybe that's the thing you are saying. Okay, thank you. Okay, Sumedha Tiwari is saying if someone has retrograde planet, retrograde Saturn in natal chart, what kind of results are there if transit Saturn also goes retrograde? Yes. So if you already have a retrograde Saturn in your original birth chart, then it's but natural that you will feel the retrogression effect of transit Saturn more, right? So whenever Saturn goes retrograde once a year, you will feel that more because imagine it's like you always want to do something or you always want to be in a certain way and suddenly you get a chance to be in a certain way, right? Externally also. So the aggressiveness can improve or you could even become further passive, right? So depending on what is indicated in your horoscope, according to that we will have to decide what actually happens. But the intensity of the retrogression will be magnified. Even if it is Saturn, it will be magnified, right? Partha is saying, is Lagna Lord Moon in 12th house good for spirituality and intuition power? It is only good if you are detached. Otherwise, it can wreak havoc in your life. It can give you depression. It can put you into anxiety. But if you're detached, then it's the best thing to have. Lagna Lord in 12th. Why do I say it's the best thing? Because, anyways, everything is going to end one day, right? It's anyways going to fall. The 12th house is the final destination. It's the end of the Lagna, right? So, Lagna Lord in the 12th can flow in one of the two directions depending on the chart. You can get a feeling always from day one that it's all going to end. Why should you do anything, right? Oh my god, it's going to end. What is going to happen? The world is going to be finished. Oh my god, right? So that is one side of Lagna Lord in 12th. Or the other side of Lagna Lord in 12th, there is crisis in your life, some disaster happens, and then you say, oh yeah, but anyways, this would have anyways been taken away from me, right, at the time of my death, right? So Lagna Lord in 12th can be a very powerful position for spirituality, provided you are detached, right? If you are attached, this is like hell. You will cry and it's like living hell. Okay. So it depends on you how if you can elevate your consciousness by reading the Bhagavad Gita. Because see, anybody and everybody they are going to have troubles, right, in life. Major troubles sometimes, like serious calamities, right? So in that case, how do you react to it, right? So it will depend on that. So if you are very detached and you can accept the fact that sometimes or maybe most of the times things will not go as per your will, it will go as per will of God and my own previous destiny, then it's very good. Then it will make you spiritually enlightened, and at the time of death you will be able to very easily give up this material body and go back to the spiritual realm. But on the other side, if you're attached, oh my God, every moment is like hell. Because every moment you will be under threat and anxiety that something or the other will go wrong, and what will happen, right? But that's the lesson you have to realize, that at the end of death, life, at the moment of death, it's anyways going to fall off one day, right? So, of course, that doesn't mean we become irresponsible and we don't do anything, but it can definitely mean that we have to learn that we have to do our responsibilities. We have to seek to do work as per our own nature, which is perfectly fine. But beyond a certain extent, you cannot control things, right? So that is a very empowering lesson for Lagna Lord in the 12th, irrespective of what planet it is, right? And if it is Moon, it can be further exemplified either in depression or in happiness, right? So it's like extreme. So very good that you asked this question, Parthaji. Thank you for asking this question. Ujjwal Singh is saying, Namaste, sir. Venus Rahu in third house with Rahu Dasha. Venus Rahu in third house. It's very good for going into advertising and profession related to IT sector. So it depends on what is going on in your horoscope. I can't just say anything, because then later on, when your dasha will come, then you will write in the comments, oh sir, you predicted in the live session with just two placements and your prediction went wrong, right? Of course, I'm not saying that I'm getting obsessed with you writing like this, but it doesn't do justice to you also, right? So just on a lighter note, it depends on the horoscope, but inherently it is good for anything to do with writing and technology, and especially Venus can represent anything which is trending, latest technologies, right? So if you are into IT, it can show AI or cloud or something like that. Okay. And Rahu by default represents technology. So Venus Rahu will definitely represent new technology. So Venus can represent anything which is trending, anything which is new. So it can represent anything, right? Not only technology, but with Rahu in the third, definitely it's technology. Okay. So be tech savvy, learn technologies, and yeah, you should do good in the IT sector, in my opinion, depending on your horoscope, of course. All right, subject conditions apply. All right. Chumki Chatterjee is saying, what happens if moon is 0 degree in Kritika Nakshatra? Well, again, a lot of things that can happen. Moon is in Kritika. You could be interested in fire sacrifices in some point of your life, doing yagyas, or doing things like cooking as a surgeon. And if fifth house is related, it will only be like a hobby. The 10th house is there, it will be like a profession. All right. So depends on the chart, of course. Okay, which question should I take next? Parthaji, I have answered one or two queries. I guess I should take somebody else's question. Okay. Dwayne Johnson is saying, will Saturn and Capricorn transit block travel for Scorpio? No, I don't think so. I mean, it depends on your horoscope and your dasha. So don't just say you are Scorpio Lagna, so it's going to be blocked. So it doesn't work like that. Okay, the Wandering Star is saying, hello, sir, namaste from Chhattisgarh. Thank you, sir. Thank you for joining. Arabhi Shastri is saying, when will Sagittarius ascendant see something good? Oops, what's the problem with Sagittarius? Being a Scorpio moon and Sagittarius ascendant, it's a roller coaster ride for so many years, no improvement in any aspect. All right. Okay, so see, first of all, you have to understand that it doesn't mean that just because you are a Sagittarius rising, you are not seeing good days. Okay, it doesn't mean that, first of all. The second thing is, um, depending on your horoscope, of course, depending on your dashas, most importantly, you have to check your horoscope and find when is a good dasha coming in the future. So on the basis of that, you will have to see which opportunities you can tap. Okay, so the best use of astrology is to tap the right opportunities at the right time. Okay, that's the best use. Otherwise, what's the use of astrology, right? So for example, when I do consultations, I see maybe, okay, next year is great for finances, so focus on your career. Next 2 3 years, for example, is not good for your career, so don't try to go for a job switch, don't open a business, don't do this, don't do that. Maintain your job, work hard, right? Because you may also lose your job. So focus on your work now for 2 3 years. Don't take loans, don't do any expense, don't waste your money in any luxury, just don't do it, right? So maybe next year is good for marriage, so keep your career at a low profile and focus on your married life, right? Next year is good for having children, so have try to have children. Next year is good for your spiritual life, so try to take some holidays and visit spiritual places, right? So that's the most important thing about astrology. We can be ready and we can also tap into the right opportunities, right? And even if there is a bad period, we can see when is there a good period coming, right? Which is like a comprehensive analysis in itself. Okay, so therefore, it's very important to do a comprehensive analysis. Only then you understand what is the overall theme of the horoscope, and along with that, you also understand um, when can I do certain things and when should I not do certain things, which is equally important. All right. So therefore, please understand that astrology is only useful if you tap into the possibilities, right? And if you don't, then there's no use, right? It's because even if you don't use astrology, those things will anyways happen in your life, right? It will anyways come in front of you, either you like it or you don't, you want it or you don't. But that's the thing, if you know astrology, you can prepare well in advance, right? Like whenever I do consultations, people ask me, sir, I'm planning to take this loan for my business, big loan, huge loan, right? Will I be able to pay it back, right? And then if I see the upcoming 10 15 years are not very supportive professionally, Then I tell them, no, you should not take. Sometimes people tell me, I want to take this loan, and I see the next 5 years are very extraordinary for your career. So then I tell them that yes, you can take, no problem. In the next 5 years, you will be able to pay the loan very easily, pay back the loan, right? So, so whenever you are talking to an astrologer, always focus on two things. Don't focus on what will happen after 50 years. It doesn't make sense, right? Even if you ask, but it won't help you much, right? Oh, what will happen after 50 years? So in my opinion, this is my humble opinion, everybody has different opinions. So in my opinion, you should always focus on what will happen this year. This year, not necessarily this like the academic year, but the upcoming 1 year. So now it's June, so June this year to June next year, and a bit of outlook on the next 2 3 years, and also maybe the next 10 years, right? So three kind of three insights you should have this year, next 3 to 5 years, and then 10 years, right? So because sometimes suppose you are in Rahu Dasha and 6 years have passed, right? So then you have not 6 years, maybe 9 years have passed. So then you have another 9 years, for example. So then is there something in the Rahu Dasha which you have not yet tapped into? So then you need to focus on that majorly for the next 9 years, right? So that is why I said 9 years, 10 years also should be important. Or this Mahadasha, for example, you are in Mars Mahadasha and 4 years are remaining. So focus on that, right? Rather than focusing on, okay, I am in Venus Dashana, what will happen in my Jupiter, right? Who knows how long we live? So let's focus on the, I mean, of course, if you have certain queries like, family planning, financial planning, and all this, then it's very important to get a overall view, overall gist of the horoscope. And then you can see, okay, now I am 25, and by the time I retire, maybe 60, 65, what will be my financial position? How much money can I save? Or not like a number, but what is good for me, right? Should I do risky investments, or should I do safe investments, right? Or should I invest into real estate or stock market or gold or whatever it is, whatever, whichever it is more compatible with our nature, right? Or maybe should you just open fixed deposits, which nobody likes? So depends on your horoscope, right? So from that perspective, it is fine. But whenever you are doing a consultation, always focus on the near future, because that is where you can tap into, right? So that's very important. Okay. Okay. Aravi Shastri saying, thank you so much for taking my question. It's the first time my comment got recognized. Welcome, RBG. Okay. Mal- Maria Altair is sending these emojis. Thank you very much. I think I have seen you somewhere, but I don't recognize you. Maybe somewhere in Instagram or maybe in the YouTube comments. Thank you. All right. So, oops, we were supposed to discuss on Saturn, right? But Saturn represents delays. So you see, there's some delay there, right? Oh, there's no delay. I am voluntarily answering the questions, of course. Okay, so now Saturn is going to enter Capricorn again. So it's like we got to clean the unfinished business. Okay. I had already spoken about this during my Saturn retrograde video, but the problem is the energies function a bit differently when the retrogression is in Aquarius and when it is in the sign of Capricorn. So as of now, today, Saturn is still in Aquarius during the retrogression, but this energy is different from the energy of Saturn becoming coming back into Capricorn. So it's important we discuss specifically that. Okay. Okay. Tam- Tamanna Bukhari is saying hello from Pakistan. Thank you, madam, joining from Pakistan. I have many friends from Pakistan. The great people, Pakistanis, of course, very similar Indians and Pakistanis. All right. So the thing is, When Saturn is still in Aquarius, as of now, he's retrograde, you will start realizing that there are certain things you need to do which is not new for you. It's not new. You have already done it, but it's like the refinement is not yet done, right? So till the time Saturn is in Aquarius during this retrogression, you will feel the need to do something, but you will not know what it is, right? You will continue to feel as if, oh yeah, maybe I'm still okay with it, but actually it's not, right? So therefore, you have to understand that the prime results of this retrogression will come in a physical form. The results will be visible only since when Saturn will enter Capricorn, right? So during Saturn's transit in Capricorn, it is very likely that you you will do one of the three things. Either you will destroy something which you already did, or you will refine something that you already did, or you will try to increase the scalability of something, right? So if Saturn is your 10th lord, you might recognize that I had a business model and I was acting as per the expectations, but later on what happened is I saw that this uh, model is not scalable, my business model, right? Or my revenue model is not scalable. So then you got to understand what's wrong in the model and you got to change it. So it may happen that if you have a hotel and you have an application where you keep a track record of people visiting your hotel, then maybe there's some problem in the software, so you have to contact the developer and change everything from scratch, right? So that will happen when Saturn enters Capricorn, of course. And along with that, you got to understand that when Saturn is going to enter Capricorn, you will get a feeling that this is something, the change that I'm making is something which I had ignored in the past, right? It's like you knew that you might have to change this, but you or me or anybody rather or everybody, we behaved in a way that is a bit irresponsible, right? So whenever Saturn goes retrograde, we always realize our irresponsible behavior and then we are forced to make some changes, okay? So therefore, when Saturn is in Capricorn, now imagine Saturn is going to enter Capricorn after 27, like 28, 29, 30 years again, right? So it's like 3 decades, right? And Saturn's own sign Capricorn. So July to January next year. Please, please, please look the houses that Saturn rules, Capricorn and Aquarius, depending on your ascendant, and try to fix the things, right? It's like it's not a game of 6 months, it's a game of 30 years. 30. Imagine 30 years. How will we look after 30 years? How will we talk after 30 years, right? How many of us will live till then, right? 30 years, 30 days, right? In the Srimad Bhagavatam, we have the example of Parikshit Maharaj, who only had 7 days, right? So therefore, don't think this is, oh yeah, yeah, 6 months transit, what's the big deal? It keeps happening. No, it's a damn transit for 30 years, right? You won't get this transit again. Transit of Saturn in Capricorn, it's very crucial that you focus on the things that you missed. If you don't do it now, maybe you might uh, leave yourself with a regret of another 30 years, okay? Of course, this does not mean that if you don't do it now, you can't do it later, but now the awareness is high. So, best is to do things when there is good awareness, right? Otherwise, if there is no awareness, then there is no realization, there's no intent, there's no desire, right? So, therefore, um, you want to understand it's a long game of 30 years, so do not take this cheaply, all right? Do the things that you need to do, either it's your health or career, marriage, finance, profession, whatever it is, childbirth, property purchase, whatever, creativity, your business, your freelancing, your self-employed work. or your education, learning, training. 30 years, man, 30 years, 3 decades. It's going to come after 30 years, 30. So whenever you write age, 20s, 30s, imagine what will be your age that time, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. Many will be in the 90s that time, right? So therefore, please, my humble request, do not think this is a small transit. That is why I'm explicitly making a video on just this topic, which I had spoken in my retrograde video, but I realized I did not speak much about this. Okay. All right. A few questions I will take. Live Astro is saying how of Live Astro, I think I've already taken. Let's take some other questions. Jhalak is saying why I came to know about reality of Saturn. Before some time my life was smooth and simple. Well, you came to know, so now should you keep cursing yourself? Why did I came to know, right? So that won't help you. So I have a lot of videos on Saturn, and so I would insist, if you want to know more about the reality of Saturn, then please watch those videos and see. The more you fight, the more you are angry, right? So I'm not saying you are angry, but the more you try to push Saturn, the more you try to resist it, the more you will face the resistance within yourself, right? So Saturn always represents that voice within us which tells us, you got to do this, you know it, but you still don't do. Why? Because of weaknesses, right? So therefore he's the karaka for the sixth house, right? So therefore Saturn dasha is very good time to check your weaknesses, because your weaknesses are the only ones which prohibit you from getting into discipline, right? So therefore, if you feel, because see, anything worthwhile you want to achieve in this world, you need discipline, right? Either it's materially, spiritually, whatever it is, you got to have discipline. And what prevents you from getting, or rather staying into discipline, right? It's it's the weaknesses of our heart, right? Oh, I'm doing something today, I don't want to do it. Why? Because my mind doesn't feel like doing, because my mind says, I'm angry on somebody, or I'm attracted to somebody, or I'm greedy for something, right? So kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya, lust, anger, greed, envy, pride, and illusion. I'm feeling jealous of somebody, right? Or it's just laziness, basically, like laya, vikshep, all these things. So therefore you got to understand that the more you resist Saturn, the more you are resisting your inner weaknesses, basically, right? Which doesn't help. So best is to take guidance of a bona fide spiritual master, guru, as Lord Krishna says in the Gita, and then you can progress in your spiritual life. All right. Astrophila is saying, thanks for answering my questions all the way from Nigeria. Great to know that. Thank you for joining. All right. Should I take a few more questions? It's been almost 30 minutes. God's beloved is saying, where to look, moon or Rashi chart? Actually, none of them. You should look at your bhava chart whenever you talk of transits, right? So, of course, you should look it from the ascendant, but sometimes, or maybe many times, not most of the times, but many a times, it also happens that your Rashi chart, which is like traditionally known as your D1 or Lagna chart, uh, which we think as the first house to be the ascendant, is actually not. So transits should be looked from the bhava chart. Okay. Of course, you should also look at the Rashi chart. So the placement of a planet should be seen from the bhava chart when it comes to transits, or from your normal birth chart, even in your normal birth chart, right? But the Rashi, the zodiac sign, even for your birth chart and during transits, should always be seen from the Lagna, the Rashi chart, because that tells you the Rashi, right? But the Bhava chart tells you the house. Okay, so for example, if your planet, if your ascendant is in 25 degrees, right? 25 degree of any ascendant, right? And then Saturn has changed the sign. But for you, because your ascendant is at 25 degrees, so you have to calculate the bhav madhya and the degree based on different calculations, and then you have to go to your bhav chart. So it could happen that even though Saturn has entered Aquarius, it is still in that particular house itself in the bhav chart. All right. So because your ascendant degree is very far, it's like 25 degrees. Okay. So therefore, whenever you are talking of conjunctions and aspects, always look at the Rashi, because that should be taken from the Rashi. But the placement, the house where a planet is in, that has to be taken from the Bhava chart. So even when you are talking of transit, so for example, your for example, today what is the date? 17 June. So Sun has entered Gemini. Hopefully he has. So now suppose your ascendant is 20 degrees Gemini, for example, right? So then you will say, wow, Sun is entering my first house, right? No, it's not. It will enter after some time, maybe after 2 weeks, right? Because although Sun has entered Gemini, but your first house, which is Gemini, does not start from 0 degree. It may start from some other degree, right? So, depending on the Bhav chart calculation, when a planet crosses that particular degree, only then it comes to that house, right? So, let's assume that your ascendant is 20. So, if you take ideal case scenario where your ascendant is 20 and the calculation of degree of the Bhav chart is also 20, so then when Sun crosses 20 degree of Gemini, only then it comes to your first house, right? Till then it is still in your 12th house, even if when it is 15 degrees. Now of course, what that degree is, that will depend on the type of house chart that you use, but I hope you understood my point, right? So just because Sun has entered Gemini, you say, oh, Gemini ascendants, Surya has entered my Lagna, I'll feel very positive, I'll feel this, I'll feel that. But then nothing happens, you still feel miserable. Why is it? Because he has not yet entered your first house, right? Okay, any other questions? One more question. Okay, I would love to answer generic questions, not Kundli specific. Sunita ji is saying, please help to know, as I have this question from long time in my mind. What does it indicate if there are no retrograde planets in one's chart? Well, if there are no retrograde planets, it can mean there is no extremity in your horoscope, right? You do not. It can be good because then you do not have this idea of elevating one area of life at the cost of degrading or downgrading or denigrating another area of life, right? So many times when people have, the Artha house lords, the second lord, sixth lord, 10th lord as retrograde, so then many times it happens, people, they get so much into their profession, they ignore their health and family life. So then they get into depression, then they go to doctors, then the same money which they used which they got from their profession, now they are wasting it on psychiatrists or on astrologers or on doctors or on lawyers because of so many health or relationship related problems, right? So this can be avoided if there is a balance in life, all right? Or you are too much into maybe anything, you are too much into alcohol, or you are too much into bad eating, and then that spoils your life, right? So therefore you got to understand that you should not elevate one area of life at the cost of the other area of life. All right, this one last question, interesting question. Jyoti Datta has asked, while buying a puppy, should we look at their horoscope? Will that help, or should we make one for them? Interesting question. I have no answer to this. I have not thought of it. I do not know if we should make horoscope for animals. I'm not aware of it. But yeah, one thing what you could do is you could take the puppy to your home in a good muhurta, that you can do, of course, right? And of course, how the puppy will behave, how long the puppy will live, or will you be able to have a good relationship or not, that depends on not on the puppy's chart, it depends on your chart, right? So in short, you need to check your chart, and a good muhurta, that should be sufficient, right? So whenever you want to do something which is like bit unconventional, like seeing the puppy's chart or something like so, then shortcut, look at your chart, because the amount of happiness or suffering that this puppy or anybody can give you is dependent on your karma, right? So it does not depend on his or her karma. So it depends on your karma, because you are the one who will be interacting. Of course, it depends on the puppy's karma also, but um, we have to look at ourselves, right, first, then we can think of karma of other people, right? So therefore, look at your chart and select a good muhurta, like good nakshatra, good day, good tithi, or whatever, I mean, depending on which system you follow, and then that should be good, in my opinion. Okay, try to do it in a mridu nakshatra like anuradha, that could be good, or pushya and revati can also be good for such things. Okay, all right. Thank you very much for joining. Almost 150 people joined. Yeah, thank you very much. Pallaviji is saying puppy's chart, so cute. Yes, madam. It was a very interesting question. Jyotiji, thank you for asking, and I hope I could give you some good direction, and good luck for bringing the puppy to your house. All right. Okay. Jai Shri Ram. See you again some other time. Thank you.